Okay, let's pay some damn shifts. Street whore. Come on, you slut from China. She's cute. Boom. I touched her head. She's cute. She's cute. She's cute. She's cute. She's cute. Boom. She's cute. She's so damn cute. I can't stand it. I wish I could touch her head in real life. She's so cute. Let's play a goddamn tournament, you goddamn son of a goddamn bitch. Isn't there any fucking tournament going on right fucking now that I can fucking play? God damn, I mean I gotta fucking wait. That fucking shit pisses my ass off some kind of fucking badly.
Irons her best dress, the one she's worn to church for 30 years.
Boop!
Her grandson sleeps in the next room. Hasn't stepped foot in a sanctuary since he turned 18. 3 counties over, a pastor stands in an empty parking lot counting the cars. 12.
Last
year it was 47.
He
knows what the regional coordinator will say at next month's meeting.
Goddamn son of a goddamn
They all know.
bitch.
The building might not make it to Christmas. This isn't just happening in Mississippi. From the Appalachian hollers of Kentucky to the piney woods of East Texas, from the tobacco fields of North Carolina to the cotton delta of Arkansas, something fundamental is collapsing. The institution that once formed the absolute center of Southern life, the church, the place where everyone gathered regardless of what they believed, regardless of their doubts, is hemorrhaging members at a rate that would have seemed impossible just 20 years ago.
God, what the goddamn
And the numbers
Holy
tell a story
Ghost
that should terrify anyone who cares about these communities. Because what's replacing the church isn't some new, vibrant form of community gathering. It's nothing. Just nothing at all. Let me give you a snapshot of what's happening. In 1972, 92% of Southerners identified as Christian. By 2021, that number had dropped to 76%.
God damn.
You might think, well, that's still a strong majority. But here's the twist. The real gut punch in the data. Among Southerners under 35, only 57% identify as Christian. And here's the kicker. Only 18% of those who do identify as Christian attend a church more than once a month.
My motherfucking dick, bitch.
Do the math. That means roughly 10% of young Southerners are regularly attending church. 1 in 10 in the Bible Belt. The Pew Research Center published something in 2019 that should have made front-page news across every paper in Dixie.
Damn it.
They found that the South had experienced the steepest decline in religious affiliation of any region in America between 2009 and 2019. The South. The region where church attendance was once so ubiquitous that businesses simply closed on Sunday mornings because everyone was assumed to be in a pew somewhere. In that decade alone, the percentage of religiously unaffiliated Southerners doubled from 13% to 26%. But the raw numbers don't tell you what it feels like on the ground. In 2022, the United Methodist Church reported that it had closed or merged 163 churches in North Carolina alone. 163.
God damn it.
In a single state, in a single year, in a single denomination.
Damn it.
The Southern Baptist Convention, the largest Protestant denomination in America, and the backbone of Southern religious life for over a century, reported in 2023 that membership had declined for 16 consecutive years. They've lost more than 2 million members since 2006. Their annual baptisms, the key metric they use to measure new believers, hit the lowest number since 1919. Not a typo. 1919. Drive through any small southern town today and you'll see them. The empty churches, some have been converted into antique shops or community centers. Some sit abandoned, windows broken, kudzu creeping up the walls. Some have those optimistic banners out front saying under new...
What the fuck is kudzu?
Kudzu creeping up the walls. Some have those optimistic banners out front saying under new management with an arrow pointing skyward, but the parking lots stay empty. In rural Georgia, there's a county with 23 church buildings and only 4 active congregations. The buildings remain, but the people are gone. Here's what's fascinating and disturbing in equal measure. The church didn't just provide religious services in the South. It was the entire social infrastructure. If you wanted to meet people, you went to church. If you needed help moving, church. If your house burned down, the church took up a collection. If you were struggling with addiction, church. If you were looking for a spouse, church. If you were new in town and needed to make connections to find work, you joined a church. Weddings, funerals, potlucks, youth groups, summer camps, Christmas pageants, Easter egg hunts.
Oh, I know what that shit is.
The rhythm of Southern life was fundamentally structured around the church calendar. Now imagine all of that disappearing within a single generation. What replaces it? In Grundy County, Tennessee, population 13,000, 5 churches closed between 2018 and 2023. The county's social services director told a local paper that they'd seen a 43% increase in reports of elderly isolation and a 67% increase in suicide risk assessments among people over 65. When researchers asked what had changed, the overwhelming answer was the same. People used to have their church community. Now they have nothing. They sit home alone. The opioid crisis hit the rural South harder than almost anywhere else in America.
God damn
Between
it.
2010 and 2020, opioid overdose deaths increased by 320% in rural Southern counties.
Suck my motherfucking
Compare that to
dick.
urban areas in the same states,
God
which saw
damn it.
increases of 140%. Still terrible, but less than half
God
the rural
fucking
rate.
damn it.
Researchers at Duke University published a study in 2021 examining the correlation between church attendance decline and opioid deaths in southern Appalachia. The correlation was staggering. Counties that experienced the steepest drops in church attendance saw overdose rates nearly 4 times higher than counties where attendance remained stable. Now, correlation isn't causation, as any researcher will tell you. But when you dig into the mechanisms, the connection becomes clearer. Churches provided social support networks. They provided meaning and purpose. They provided accountability structures. They provided a place to be seen and known. When all of that vanishes when you're a 45-year-old man who lost his factory job and your church closed down and you don't have anywhere to go, anywhere to be seen, anyone to check on you, what happens? The statistics suggest you're far more likely to end up using and far more likely to die alone. I want to tell you about a specific example because the macro statistics can numb us. There was a small Baptist church in Letcher County, Kentucky, Cornerstone Baptist. Founded in 1953, served a community of about 200 families. At its peak in 1987, Sunday morning service drew 312 people. By 2015, that number was down to 42. Most were over 65. The church ran a food pantry that served 90 families every month. They ran an after-school program for kids whose parents worked second shift. They organized a volunteer group that did home repairs for elderly community members who couldn't afford contractors.
Suck my motherfucking dick.
In 2017, they couldn't afford a full-time pastor anymore. They went part-time. In 2019, they couldn't afford to heat the building in winter. In March 2020, COVID hit, and they never reopened. The food pantry closed. The after-school program closed. The volunteer repair group dissolved. County records show that within 18 months, 3 of the elderly people who'd been receiving regular visits and support from church volunteers died alone in their homes. 2 weren't discovered for over a week. Now here's where this gets even more complex. You might think, well, people are just becoming less religious. This is happening everywhere in America. Why is it a particular crisis in the South? Here's why. Northern and Western states have robust secular institutions that provide social services and community connection. The South deliberately never developed those institutions because the church filled that role. Southern states consistently ranked lowest in public spending on mental health services, addiction treatment, elderly care, and community
Mental
development
health
programs.
services are a goddamn joke.
This wasn't an oversight. It was a conscious choice rooted in the belief that churches and private charities should handle those functions, not government. Tennessee spends $107 per capita on mental health services. The national average is $214. Mississippi spends $93. Arkansas spends $101. Louisiana spends $89. These states consistently rank in the bottom 5 nationally for mental health infrastructure. Why? Because historically, if you were struggling, you went to your pastor. The pastor either helped you directly or connected you with someone in the congregation who could. The system worked not because it was efficient or comprehensive, but because church participation was nearly universal. But now the churches are closing while the states still aren't building alternative infrastructure. So you get this perfect storm. The old support system collapses while nothing emerges to replace it. People fall through gaps that become chasms. Welcome to Professor Archive, where we explore the hidden patterns that shape our world.
Dick bitch.
If you're finding value in this deep dive, consider leaving a super thanks to support our research. And I'm curious, where are you watching from and what time is it there? Drop a comment below. The question everyone asks is, why is this happening? Why are Southerners abandoning church in such massive numbers? The answers are more complicated than the simple narratives you'll hear. Some will tell you it's purely about politics, that churches became too aligned with conservative politics.
Jesus goddamn
younger people rejected that.
Goddamn Christ.
There's truth there, but it's not the whole story. Others say it's about abuse scandals and institutional failure. Again, partial truth, not complete picture.
Fucking Christ.
Others claim it's about science and education, that people simply don't believe anymore. Also incomplete. Here's what the actual data suggests. In 2021, researchers at the University of Alabama conducted extensive interviews with people across the South who'd left church in the previous decade. The number one reason cited wasn't politics or scandal or disbelief. It was irrelevance. People said the church stopped addressing their actual lives. They'd show up on Sunday morning and hear sermons about biblical interpretations that felt disconnected from the reality of working 3 jobs to make ends meet, or dealing with a parent with dementia, or watching their downtown die as factories closed. A woman in Alabama told researchers, "My grandma's church was where the community solved problems. When the textile mill announced layoffs, the church organized a job training program. When families couldn't afford Christmas, the church made sure kids had gifts. But my church... We just talked about salvation and sin. My sister lost her job and her house, and the church told her to pray harder. She needed real help." That word keeps appearing in the research. Real. People kept saying the church didn't feel real anymore, it felt performative. A woman in Tennessee said, "Everyone would show up Sunday morning pretending their lives were fine. We all knew the Johnsons were about to lose their farm. We all knew the Wilson kid was using drugs. We all knew Pastor Dave's marriage was falling apart. But we'd all just smile and sing hymns and pretend. It felt like a lie we were all telling each other." This points to something deeper. The South's church culture developed in relatively stable communities where people lived their entire lives in one place, where everyone knew everyone, where social cohesion was strong. But the modern South is increasingly mobile, fractured, economically unstable.
Move, you whore!
Communities turn over. The old model of church, where your family has attended the same congregation for 4 generations and everyone knows your business, doesn't fit the reality of a 28-year-old who moved to Charlotte for a tech job, has no family connections, works 60 hours a week, and doesn't know their neighbors. Churches tried to adapt. They added contemporary worship music. They installed screens and light shows. They started coffee bars in the lobby. Mega churches boomed in southern cities through the 1990s and 2000s, promising a modern, relevant church experience.
Man, look at this. Oh.
But here's the fascinating thing.
Move, you whore!
Even the mega churches are now declining. The 2 largest churches in the South, both in Texas, reported membership declines of 12% and 17% respectively between 2019 and 2023.
Bitch, you suck my motherfucking
The model that was supposed to save Southern Christianity is itself faltering. Why? Because making church more entertaining didn't address the fundamental disconnect.
You suck my fucking
People weren't leaving because the music was old-fashioned. They were leaving because the church stopped being the center of real community life and became one more optional entertainment choice, competing with Netflix, sports leagues, and brunch.
Dick bitch.
But here's where the story takes a dark turn. When the church collapses in the South, what's growing in its place should concern everyone, regardless of their religious beliefs. QAnon found its most fertile ground in the rural South. A 2022 study by researchers at the University of North Carolina found that 43% of Southerners believed at least some QAnon conspiracy theories, compared to 29% nationally. The correlation with church decline was striking. Counties that had experienced church closures showed significantly higher rates of QAnon belief than counties where churches remained stable. The researchers' theory was simple. People are meaning-making creatures. We need narratives that explain our world, that give us purpose, that connect us to something larger than ourselves. The church provided that for centuries in the South.
I do.
When it vanished, people didn't stop needing meaning. They found it elsewhere.
I do.
And in the age of the internet, elsewhere often means conspiracy theories, extremist ideologies, and parasocial relationships with online personalities. A former pastor in Arkansas told NPR in 2022, "I used to have young men in my congregation who'd come to men's group, who'd serve on mission trips, who'd find purpose in faith and service. Now those same demographic young men are spending hours every day on YouTube watching people tell them the world is run by secret cabals. They're angrier, more isolated, more paranoid. They've replaced God with grievance." The statistics on radicalization support this. The Southern Poverty Law Center tracks hate groups in America. Between 2015 and 2023, the number of active hate groups in the South increased by 68%. The majority are in rural areas. When researchers interview members of these groups, a common theme emerges. Many describe previous church involvement, feeling disconnected from church, and finding online communities that welcomed them. This isn't to say the church was perfect. Southern churches have their own long, ugly history of racism, of defending segregation, of excluding and harming people. Many people, particularly black Southerners, can tell you stories of church hurt that are entirely valid. But there's a difference between critiquing the church's failures and watching the complete collapse of communal institutions with nothing better replacing them. Here's the thing. You don't have to be religious to recognize that the disappearance of churches represents a massive loss of social capital. Social capital is the networks of relationships and shared trust that allow communities to function. When a community has high social capital, crime is lower, health outcomes are better, people are more economically mobile, kids do better in school. Harvard sociologist Robert Putnam spent decades studying social capital in America. His research consistently showed that religious congregations were the single largest source of social capital in American communities. Not the only source, but the largest. People who regularly attended religious services volunteered more, gave more to charity, had more close friendships, were more civically engaged, and reported higher life satisfaction. When Putnam studied communities that experienced rapid decline in church attendance, he found measurable decreases in all forms of civic engagement. People didn't just stop going to church. They stopped joining Rotary clubs, stopped volunteering at schools, stopped participating in local government, stopped knowing their neighbors. This is exactly what's happening across the South right now. In 1995, the average Southern town of 15,000 people had 11 active civic organizations. Kiwanis, Lions Club, Rotary, Elks, local business associations, volunteer fire departments, PTAs. By 2020, the average was down to 4. The pipeline that created civic engagement was church. People went to church, developed a habit of community involvement, and extended that involvement to other organizations. When church attendance collapsed, it took all the other community organizations down with it.
God damn it.
I spent time in a small town in Alabama last year, population 8,000. There used to be 9 churches. Now there are 3 and only one has more than 50 regular attendees. I asked the mayor what had
I trust
changed.
the Holy Ghost if I look like
He
that.
said, "We used to be able to get 300 people out for a town meeting about the school budget. Now we're lucky to get 40. We had a volunteer fire department for over 100 years. Last year we had to shut it down because we couldn't get enough volunteers. We're now contracted with the county, which means slower response times. I don't know what happened. People just don't show up for things anymore." What happened was the church, the institution that trained people to show up, to volunteer, to care about their community, collapsed. And it took the habit of civic engagement with it. Here's the economic piece that nobody's talking about. Churches were major economic engines in small southern towns. A mid-sized church with 200 members generates significant economic activity. They employ a pastor, secretaries, maintenance workers, and musicians. They contract with local businesses for repairs, supplies, and services. They organize events that bring people to town.
Dumbass.
They run programs that keep money circulating locally. A 2018 study by economists at Baylor University estimated that the average mid-sized church generates approximately $1.7 million in annual economic activity in its local community.
Dumbass.
When churches close, that economic activity vanishes. The
Why, you
businesses that rely on
dumbass?
church contracts struggle. The workers employed by churches lose jobs. The events that brought people downtown disappear. In one North Carolina town, the closure of 3 churches between 2016 and 2020 coincided with the closure of 11 local businesses. 2 restaurants, a printing shop, a florist, a catering company, and 6 retail stores. The causal chain isn't difficult to trace. The churches were major customers for all these businesses. When the churches closed, the businesses lost too much revenue to survive. What about mental health? This is where the data gets truly alarming. The South has seen a 41% increase in suicide rates, compared to a 27% increase nationally. The steepest increases have been in rural counties with high rates of church closures. Mental health professionals across the South report the same thing. Their caseloads have exploded while resources have remained stagnant or declined. A therapist in Mississippi told researchers, "I have people driving 2 hours to see me because I'm the only therapist within 50 miles who takes Medicaid. They're dealing with depression, anxiety, trauma, addiction." 20 years ago, many of these people would have had support from church communities. They would have had someone checking on them, someone to call when they were struggling. Now they have nothing until they're in full crisis. And we don't have the infrastructure to handle it. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated everything. Churches that were barely hanging on shut down in March 2020 and never reopened. Elderly congregants who were afraid to gather in person simply stopped coming. Younger people who'd been on the fence about church decided they didn't miss it. A pastor in Louisiana told me, "We had 87 members in February 2020. When we reopened in July 2020, 32 people came back. By 2021, that was down to 19. We closed in 2022. And the thing is, those 68 people who didn't come back, they didn't join other churches. They just stopped. And I worry about them. I know at least 8 who live alone. I know several who were struggling before COVID.
Damn it.
I tried calling, but after a while, people stopped answering. And I worry about them. I know at least 8 who live alone. I know several who were struggling before COVID. I tried calling, but after a while, people stopped answering.
You're not gonna dick up that fucking
The pandemic revealed how tenuous many church communities actually were.
Son of a bitch.
When forced to stop meeting, many congregations discovered they had no digital infrastructure, no way to maintain connection, no real community beyond physical proximity. The churches that survived were the ones that already had strong relational bonds.
I'm sick and tired of these people being so
Sunday morning
goddamn
audiences
slow.
watching a religious performance collapsed immediately. But here's the truly disturbing part. The young people leaving church aren't just becoming secular humanists who volunteer at homeless shelters. Many are leaving organized community entirely. They're not joining anything. Research from the Survey Center on American Life found that in 2023, 49% of young adults in the South reported having no close friends. 0. Not a small number of friends, 0. That number was 27% in 2010. What are you watching this video on right now? A phone? A computer? Are you alone? When was the last time you participated in a community gathering where you actually knew people's names? If you're over 40, think about how different your social life is from your parents at your age. If you're under 30, ask your parents what their weekends looked like at your age. The difference is staggering. The South is experiencing the collapse of the church without developing alternative forms of community, and it's creating a public health crisis. Loneliness is as bad for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases your risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and depression. It shortens your lifespan by an average of 7 years. The Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health epidemic in 2023. The South is ground zero. So what's the solution? Here's where this gets complicated because there isn't an easy answer. You can't force people back to church, and many people have legitimate reasons for not wanting to return. But you also can't ignore the massive social infrastructure gap that's been created. Some communities are trying to adapt. In one Tennessee town, several closed churches donated their buildings to form a community center that provides after-school programs, elderly services, and a meeting space for civic groups. It's non-religious, but draws on the organizational structures churches used to provide. Early results are promising, but it requires resources and coordination that many communities lack.
God damn it.
Some researchers advocate for southern states to dramatically increase funding for social services and community development to fill the gap churches once filled. But given the political realities of the region, that seems unlikely in the near term. Some religious leaders are trying to reimagine what church looks like. Instead of Sunday morning services, they're organizing around service projects, community meals, and support groups. Some are abandoning buildings entirely and meeting in homes, coffee shops, and parks. It's an attempt to return to smaller, more relational models of religious community. But all of these solutions face the same fundamental challenge. The broader culture has shifted away from commitment to community institutions. People are busy, stressed, economically precarious, and digital. Asking them to commit to regular participation in any community institution, religious or secular, is a tough sell. The South is canary in the coal mine for a problem facing all of America, and indeed much of the Western world. The institutions that built social cohesion for centuries are collapsing faster than we can build new ones. And we're learning painfully that you can't have a healthy society of isolated individuals. Humans are communal creatures. We need to belong to something larger than ourselves. We need to be known and to know others. We need structures of meaning and purpose. We need accountability and support. The church provided all of that in the South for generations. Now it's failing, and we haven't figured out what comes next. The result is skyrocketing loneliness, mental illness, addiction, suicide, radicalization, and social fragmentation.
Get goddamn not out of here.
These aren't abstract problems. They're killing people. Real people in real communities who are suffering because the social fabric that held their world together has unraveled. That grandmother ironing her dress, she'll keep going to church until she can't anymore. But her grandson? He's part of the first generation of Southerners who've never known a world where church was the center of social life. He's navigating a landscape his ancestors would find completely unrecognizable. One where community is optional, where belonging is rare, where meaning is hard to find. Whether the South rebuilds some form of communal life, whether it's religious or secular, traditional or innovative, matters enormously not just for the South, but for all of us. Because if the most religious region in America can't figure out how to maintain social cohesion in the modern world, what hope does anywhere else have? The empty churches across the South aren't just monuments to changing religious beliefs. They're tombstones marking the death of a way of life. What grows on that grave will determine the future of millions of people.
Stupid!
God,
that was stupid!
Thanks for watching Professor Archive. If this video made you think, hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the patterns shaping our world. What profession do you have, and does your work give you insight into these community dynamics?
Dumbass.
I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and maybe, just maybe, call someone you haven't talked to in a while. We all need connection more than we think.
Dumbass. Ah! Stupid! Kiss those pawns goodbye. Oh, she's cute. Where's that goddamn video, son of a bitch? God damn it. God fucking damn it. Jesus goddamn fucking Christ. Oh, fucking goddamn Christ. March! March! Where's that goddamn video? Jesus, goddamn Holy Ghost fucking son of a bitch. Holy Ghost fuck. That goddamn fucking video. God fucking damn it. Holy Ghost. March! Ah! March! Scroll down, you god. Go down, thou bald head. Go down, thou fucking bald head. Son of a bitch. She's cute. She's cute. Boop! I touched her head. Has she got Jules got arms? There the fuck that goddamn video is. Oh, it's beyond the believing.
You know, there is a very comfortable idea that we all
I got
live
myself
by.
a whore.
The idea that religion is roughly about being a good person.
Here's
You do not kill, you do not steal, you try not to lie too much, and you are generally safe. We look at the Bible as a source of comfort, a leather-bound book of general wisdom that sits on the shelf and acts as a cultural anchor, a talisman that we keep in our homes to ward off bad spirits or bad luck. But have you ever stopped to actually read the fine print of the contract you claim to follow?
From
And
Shelly!
I'm not talking about the famous verses they put on coffee mugs, or the gentle psalms read at weddings about green pastures and
Bitch, you suck
still
my dick,
waters.
bitch.
I am talking about the law,
You suck my dick.
the hard, cold, eternal law. Because if you actually open the books of Leviticus and Deuteronomy and read them with the same
My motherfucking
seriousness
dick,
that
bitch.
fundamentalists claim to have, you will discover a
You suck
terrifying
my
reality.
Dick. You suck my dick,
You will
bitch.
discover that the God of the Bible had extremely
Suck my
specific, intolerant, and often violent opinions about your haircut, your wardrobe, your diet, and even the way you speak. And here is the fascinating,
it.
almost funny part. If we applied these biblical laws literally today, right now, almost every devout Christian you know would be considered a criminal deserving of exile or death. We are going to walk through 7 things that you probably did today, or this week, which the Bible explicitly banned. And we are going to dig deep into the history and psychology of why these rules existed. And we are going to expose exactly why we ignore them today. Let us see if you would survive the judgment of your own book. Let us start with something that seems trivial. Something you are likely touching right now.
Damn it.
Look at your clothes. Seriously, look down at your body and check the tag on your shirt,
God
or your hoodie,
damn it.
or the pants you are wearing right now.
God damn it.
Does it say 50% cotton, 50% polyester, or perhaps a wool blend? Or maybe it is that comfortable athletic wear that mixes spandex with natural fibers? If it does, you have just committed a biblical crime. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11 is explicit. You shall not wear clothes of wool and linen woven together. This rule, known in Hebrew as shatnez, was not a suggestion. It was not a fashion tip for the ancient Near East. It was a divine order about purity and separation. And you might ask, why on earth would the creator of the universe care about your textiles?
I know, right?
Well, to understand this, we have to look at the ancient mind.
Shit.
The God of the Old Testament despised mixtures. He wanted things distinct. Cattle could not breed with other kinds. Seeds could not be mixed in the same field. And fibers could not be mixed on your body. The logic was cosmic order. Everything had its place, and to mix them was to introduce chaos into the created order. But there is a deeper secret here that most people miss. The only person in ancient Israel who was allowed to wear a mixture of wool and linen was the high priest. His sash was made of mixed fibers. Why? Because the high priest stood in the gap between heaven and earth. He was the exception.
You suck my whore
He represented
ass.
the connection of two
Dick.
worlds. For a common person to wear that mixture was an act of rebellion. It was an act of trying to be like the high priest, or like God himself. It was a usurpation of status. So when you put on that polyblend shirt today, you are not just dressing for comfort. Historically and theologically, you are committing an act of spiritual treason, claiming a status that does not belong to you. The rabbis took this so seriously that for centuries they would use microscopes to check threads, ensuring that a single linen thread was not woven into a wool garment. They built fences around this law because they believed it was a direct command from God that carried spiritual danger. But today, look at us. We mix fabrics for comfort, for price, for fashion. We ignore a direct command simply because polyester is cheaper, and it does not wrinkle, and it wicks away sweat. We do not even register it as a sin anymore. And we have culturally decided that God did not really mean it, even though the text never says he changed his mind. Ask yourself, if God is unchanging and his law is perfect, why is your wardrobe an abomination according to his standards? Simply because you live in the 21st century rather than the first. This creates a massive problem for the literalist. You cannot claim to follow the book literally while wearing a suit that violates the code of the priesthood. It proves that we are willing to trade divine law for human convenience without blinking. We have decided that the Industrial Revolution matters more than the Levitical Code, and we are just getting started. Now, let us move from what you wear to what you eat, because this is where the hypocrisy becomes physically tangible.
God!
Christians love to debate about pork or alcohol, or whether or not you can eat shellfish. They will quote Peter in the New Testament to say all foods are clean. But there is a dietary law that is much more specific, much older, and curiously, completely ignored by almost everyone preaching from a pulpit today. Leviticus chapter 3 verse 17 declares, "It is a perpetual statute for your generations throughout all your dwellings that you eat neither fat nor blood." Did you hear that word? Perpetual. It means forever. It means unbroken. It means it does not expire when the calendar changes. Unlike some laws that were specific to living in the desert, this one was given as a standing order for all generations. That means the juicy fat on your ribeye, or that bacon grease or the marbling in a high-end steak, is technically a violation of an eternal covenant.
I hate fat.
Well, the text uses the word abomination for prohibited foods, the same heavy-weighted word used for idolatry and sexual sins.
Suck my dick.
Why was this rule there? In the ancient world, blood was life. It was the currency of the gods. You did not touch the blood because the life belonged to God. And fat was the luxury, the surplus, the very best part of the animal. The fat was intended to be burned on the altar so that the smoke would rise as a pleasing aroma to Yahweh. To eat the fat was to steal from God's portion on the altar. It was an act of theft against the divine, dining on the food reserved for the deity. But today, we have secularized our dinner plates. At every church barbecue in the South, or every fellowship dinner, you see pastors and the faithful enjoying exactly what their book forbids. Not just enjoying it, but celebrating it as a gift from God.
Suck my dick, bitch.
Why does one abomination send you to hell in the eyes of the church, but the other one goes on the grill and is covered in barbecue sauce?
Now buck up and move that whore right here.
It is a question of culture, not theology. We have decided that gluttony and the consumption of fat is culturally acceptable. Therefore, we edit the mind of God to fit our appetites.
God.
This reveals a materialist worldview hidden inside religion. We treat the animal as a product, not a sacred offering. We treat the meal as calories, not a covenant. And every time a believer bites into that fat, they are proving that their stomach has more authority than their scripture. And notice, they will fight tooth and nail to defend the prohibitions against other sins. But when you point out the fat on their plate, they laugh it off. This laughter is the sound of cognitive dissonance resolving itself by dismissing the text. This brings us to a visual irony that is so prevalent it is almost invisible until you point it out. Walk into any modern youth church today, or look at the worship leaders on stage, and you will see tattoos, crosses, Jesus' face, Bible verses written in ink on skin. It is seen as an act of devotion, a way to permanently mark oneself as belonging to the faith.
Kiss that bishop goodbye,
many
slut.
people find
Stupid!
And I am not here to criticize
Kiss
the
that
art.
bishop goodbye.
I am here to criticize the literacy.
Kiss that bishop
Because
goodbye.
if those people
I
read
didn't say bishop, I
Leviticus
said
chapter
bishop.
19, verse 28,
I'm thinking
they would know they are desecrating the temple. The verse
So,
commands,
slut.
"You shall not make any cuttings in your
From
flesh for
China.
the dead, and nor tattoo any marks on you. I am the Lord." Notice the signature at the end. I am the Lord. That is the seal of authority. Historically, marking the skin was a pagan ritual. It was what the neighbors did. It was what the priests of Baal did to induce trances or honor the dead, or plead for rain. And we know exactly what this looks like.
Stupid!
In 1 Kings chapter 18, when the priests of Baal were desperately trying to summon their god on Mount Carmel, they slashed their own skin with swords and lances until the blood poured down their bodies. It was not symbolic. It was not metaphorical. It was a violent, bloody act of ritual mutilation performed in public as a form of spiritual warfare. The skin was the altar. The blood was the offering. And God looked at that and said, "Your body is not theirs to write on. It is mine." One, think about what that means. The priests of Baal were literally carving themselves open to reach their God. And the God of Israel looked at that practice and said, "Do not do that. Do not follow their ways. Do not mark your skin. Do not blur the line between who you are and what they are. Because the body is not a negotiation. It is not a blank canvas waiting for meaning. It already has meaning. It was given meaning the moment it was created. To tattoo, it was to overwrite something that God had already finished writing. It was an act of saying, your design is not enough. I need to add my own. God wanted his people to remain blank, unmarked, separate. The human body was supposed to be a reflection of divine wholeness, not a canvas for human expression or a billboard for slogans. The irony here is crushing. Like when a modern believer tattoos a Bible verse on their arm, they are literally breaking a biblical rule, using the Bible itself as the instrument of the violation. It is a paradox that would make Moses spin in his grave. Think about the layers of contradiction. You are taking the text that forbids the ink and using that text as the ink. It shows a profound disconnect between the content of the book and the culture of the religion. Why do we do this? Because the culture says tattoos are cool. The culture says they are edgy and a way to witness. So we spiritualize the law away. We say, oh, that was just about pagan rituals for the dead. But the text is absolute. Nor tattoo any marks on you. Period. By ignoring this, we are essentially saying that we value self-expression more than submission. The ancient law was about submission to the design of the body. The modern practice is about autonomy over the body. And the church has quietly sided with autonomy while still claiming to preach submission. And speaking of appearances and submission, let us look at the faces of the men who lead these congregations. Look at the televangelists. Look at the pastors in their sharp suits, and the traditional leaders in the Vatican. Most of them are clean-shaven, sharp, professional, looking like CEOs or politicians. But according to the law, they look like rebels. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 27 forbids marring the edges of the beard. For the ancient authors, the beard was a symbol of God-given dignity. It was the mark of a man created in the image of his Maker. To shave was to shame yourself or to imitate the pagans. So specifically, the Egyptians shaved their bodies completely as a sign of their priesthoods. And later, the Romans shaved to look civilized versus the barbarians. The biblical command was to look natural, to accept the body as it was given by God, not to manicure it into submission. The beard was a uniform of the tribe of God. Yet today, our culture says, clean-shaven is professional.
Amen.
Clean-shaven is trustworthy. So we follow culture, not the Bible. We adapt God's eternal visual standard to fit the corporate style of the 21st century.
Get that goddamn look out of here.
If Jesus walked into a modern fundamentalist church today, he would likely not be allowed to preach simply because he would look too unkempt, too Jewish, too ancient. And the very image of the Messiah has been sanitized and shaved by Western culture to the point where the actual biblical commandment regarding male appearance is treated as a relic, while the cultural preference for a smooth face is treated as godliness. This exposes a deep psychological truth. We want our leaders to look like Roman senators, not Hebrew prophets. We want them to look like part of the system, not apart from it. The clean-shaven face of the modern pastor is a symbol of how thoroughly the church has assimilated into the secular world. We have traded the wildness of the desert prophets for the safety of the boardroom. This leads us out of the church building and into the courtroom, where the collision between state and scripture is most violent. Verse the very foundation of our justice system involves putting a hand on the Bible and saying, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. It looks holy, doesn't it? It looks right. It feels like we are grounding our truth in something higher. But it is actually an act of defiance against the very person Christians claim to follow. In the New Testament, Jesus himself says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 34, But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool.
God damn it.
The book of James repeats it in chapter 5, verse 12, with even more urgency, saying, Above all, my brothers, do not swear, not by heaven or by earth or by any other oath. Let your yes be yes, and your no, no, so that you may not fall under
if
condemnation.
He was right here, he could have...
Notice the priority. Above all, James does not say, above all, do not kill, or above all, do not commit adultery. He says, above all, do not swear oaths. Why was this so important? Because an oath creates a two-tiered system of truth. If you have to swear to tell the truth, it implies that your normal speech is untrustworthy. It implies that unless you invoke a curse, you are a liar.
You motherfucking bitch.
Jesus wanted a community of such radical transparency that a simple yes was binding. Yet, we have built entire institutions, governments, and legal systems where we force people to violate a direct command of Jesus, using Jesus' own book as the prop for the violation. We literally force you to touch the book that says, do not do this, while doing it. It is theater, not faith. It is a societal mechanism of control, wrapped in the skin of religion.
Time to dick up some.
It exposes
that our
real God is the state, and we just use the Bible as a costume to give the state authority. We compromised the core integrity of speech to build a functional judicial
You suck
system.
you suck my
Again, a
motherfucking
pragmatic
dick. You
choice,
suck
not a
my
biblical
dick.
one. And notice how deep this goes beyond the courtroom. How many times a day do you hear someone say,
You suck my
I swear
dick.
to
You
God,
suck
in
my
casual
fucking
conversation? You drop your phone.
You drop your
You
phone.
miss the bus.
You
stub your
fuck
toe. You hear someone say, I swear to God, in casual conversation. You drop your phone. You miss the bus.
God, fuck it.
Casual conversation. You drop your phone.
God
You
damn
miss
it.
the bus. You stub your toe. And the first thing out of your mouth is an oath invoking the name of the deity. It has become so automatic, so wired into our language, that we do not even hear it anymore. It is reflex, not religion. But every single time you say it, you are breaking the exact command James placed at the top of his list of priorities. And the oath has become the cheapest word in the language. And Jesus said it should be the most sacred. And think about what this reveals about trust. The entire architecture of the oath assumes that human beings are liars by default. That is the premise baked into the system. Without the threat of perjury, without the ritual of the hand on the book, the assumption is that your words mean nothing. Jesus looked at that and said, that is the problem. You have built a world where truth requires a costume to be believed. I want to build a world where truth needs no decoration, where your word alone is enough, where people do not need to invoke the name of God just to be taken seriously. That is radical. That is almost anarchic, and we rejected it entirely. And because a world built on simple trust is a world where institutions lose their power over people. And institutions do not give up power willingly. Now, you might be thinking, okay, those are rituals. Those are external things.
Damn it.
Fabrics and beards and oaths.
Suck my dick,
I am a moral person. I follow the heart of the law.
Suck my dick.
Well, let us look at the heart then. Have you ever gotten angry in traffic? Have you ever called a politician a fool or an idiot on the internet? Or perhaps a family member during a heated argument at Thanksgiving? Jesus raised the bar so high in Matthew chapter 5, verse 22, that he made morality almost impossible. He said,
"Move, you whore.
But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Ra-ka, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell." Let us look at that word, Ra-ka. It was an Aramaic insult, meaning empty-headed or worthless. It was the ancient equivalent of calling someone an idiot or a moron. Jesus says that simply uttering this insult, simply dismissing another human being as worthless, puts you in danger of the fires of hell.
No, not
for killing, not for stealing, but for a verbal insult. This internalizes the law. The old law said, do not murder. Jesus said, do not even despise. Because murder starts with dehumanization. But look at the history of Christianity. It is a history of calling people fools, heretics, and devils. From the Crusades to the Inquisition, to the comment sections of YouTube today. If we took this verse literally, on 99% of the internet, especially the religious comment sections, would be condemned instantly. We ignore this verse because it is too hard. We pretend it is hyperbole because we cannot live up to it. We say, surely he did not mean literal hell for just a word. But the text is right there. By ignoring it, we protect our ego. We protect our right to be angry. We protect our right to...
With the spit smell table. Look at with spit. There's the smelly Shelly. There's the smelly Shellys. Look at all these smelly Shellys. There's the smelly Shelly. That's a smelly Shelly. We spit.
Our ego. We protect our right to be angry. We protect
We spit. We spit. We spit, spit, spit. We spit, spit, spit. That's a smelly Shelly. We spit.
our right to judge others. It shows that we are more attached to our outrage than we are to our Savior. We want the permission to hate our enemies more than we want the command to love them. And finally, we arrive at the heavy hitter, the one that carries the death penalty, the one that is one of the 10 Commandments, not an obscure law in Leviticus, but top 10 material, the Sabbath. Exodus chapter 35, verse 2 is terrifyingly clear. 6 days' work shall be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you a holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death. Read that again. Not fined, not scolded, not asked to sit in the corner. Put to death. It is called a perpetual covenant in Exodus 31, meaning it applies forever. To understand the weight of this, look at the story in Numbers chapter 15.
Spit, spit, spit,
The
spit,
Israelites
spit,
find
spit,
a man
spit,
gathering
spit,
sticks on the Sabbath. Just gathering sticks. They bring him to Moses. God says, the man shall be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him. And they did. They killed a man for picking up wood on a Saturday. Now, look around you today. Christians mow their lawns on weekends. They shop at grocery stores. They check their work emails. See, they watch professional football, which requires thousands of people to work for their entertainment. We have collectively decided that this death penalty law does not matter anymore. We shifted the day to Sunday, mostly due to Roman political decisions under Emperor Constantine, or we just ignore it entirely, arguing that Jesus is our Sabbath. But let us pause on Constantine for a moment, because this is where the manipulation becomes visible. Constantine was not a theologian. He was a politician. He did not shift the day of rest because of a spiritual revelation. He did it because Sunday was Sole Invictus, the day Romans already worshipped the sun. He needed Christians to blend in. He needed the empire to look unified.
God damn it.
So he rewrote the calendar of God to serve the politics of Rome. And the church accepted it without resistance. Without
Spit,
protest.
spit, 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 spit,
The
spit,
Day of
spit, spit,
Rest,
spit.
one of the 10 Commandments, was quietly reassigned by an emperor who was not even Christian at
Come
the
on!
time of the decision,
Whore.
and no one questioned it. Because power does not
Street,
argue with power.
street whore.
And this is the moment where the Sabbath stops being a spiritual
What?
question and becomes an economic one. Think about what a true Sabbath would mean for the modern world. No shopping, no delivery apps, no social media algorithms running in the background, harvesting your attention,
Spit, spit, spit.
no stock markets, no news cycles spinning for clicks. One day where the entire machine stops. Where productivity is not just discouraged, it is forbidden. Where rest is not a reward you earn after a hard week.
I
It
fuck.
is a command that overrides everything else. That terrifies us. And because we have built an entire civilization on the assumption that more work equals more value. The Sabbath says the opposite. It says, you are not your output. You are not what you produce. And the moment we actually believe that, the economy as we know it would collapse. So we buried the commandment. We buried it under theology, under tradition, under the convenient argument that Jesus fulfilled it. We buried it because honoring it would cost us everything we have built. But the commandment in the Decalogue was about physical cessation of labor under threat of execution. Imagine if a church elder stood up today and said, "We must execute the janitor for cleaning the floor on Saturday." We would call him insane. Yet, he would be the only one actually reading the text literally. This is the ultimate proof that culture conquers dogma. But we do not follow the book. We follow what is socially acceptable. We follow the economic needs of our society. Our society needs to shop and work on weekends. So God's law must bow to the economy. We have domesticated the deity, making him fit into our 40-hour work week. We have decided that killing a man for gathering sticks is immoral, even if the Bible commands it. And that is a good thing. It means our humanity has outgrown our dogma.
Now fuck up and over with this so I can stick my dick up that
We refuse to say, we are ignoring this because it is wrong. Instead, we make excuses.
Suck my mother.
We are terrified of the silence of the Sabbath. So we fill it with noise and commerce, effectively erasing the one commandment that was supposed to liberate us from slavery. So, what does this list of 7 things tell us? Does it mean everyone is going to hell? Does it mean you are a bad person for wearing a polyester blend shirt or eating a steak? No, that is not the point. The point is that fundamentalism is a myth. The idea that there are people who follow the Bible literally is a fiction. No one is a literalist. Everyone is an editor.
You suck my dick.
Everyone interprets. Everyone filters. We treat the Bible like a buffet menu. We pick the rules that taste good, the ones that validate our prejudices, the ones that allow us to judge our neighbors for their sins while we feel safe in ours. We love the verses that condemn what we do not do, and we quietly skip the verses that condemn what we do every day. Like the fabrics, the fat, the tattoos, or the Sabbath. As the philosopher Spinoza argued hundreds of years ago, to religious laws are often more about political obedience and social cohesion than they are about divine truth. They are markers of belonging, not mechanisms of salvation. We kept the laws that give us power over others, like the sexual prohibitions, and we dropped the laws that inconvenience us, like the dietary restrictions and the Sabbath rest.
Hey, fucking men, goddammit.
This journey through the 7 forbidden things is really a mirror. It asks us, what do we really believe? Do we believe in the text, or do we believe in the tradition? And if we are willing to bend the rules on the Sabbath, on the oaths, on the beard, why are we so rigid on the other things? Why are we so ready to throw stones at others when, according to the strict reading of the law, we are all standing in glass houses? Maybe the most spiritual thing you can do is simply acknowledge this. I simply say, yes, I am a rule breaker. Yes, I am inconsistent. Because in that honesty there is freedom. The freedom to stop pretending. The freedom to stop judging. And the freedom to start asking the real questions about what it means to live a good life without needing a loophole for every verse. So here is the challenge. Check your clothes, check your schedule, check your words. See how many of these 7 things you did today. And instead of feeling guilty, feel liberated from the impossible burden of literalism. The truth is usually right there in the text. You just have to be brave enough to read it without the filter. Pause right now and tell me in the comments, which of these 7 surprised you the most? Was it the tattoos, the oaths, or maybe the death penalty for the janitor? Let me know what you think down below. And if you want to understand more about how history shaped these edits, make sure you are subscribed. We are going to keep digging into the documents, and we are going to keep exposing the things that everyone else wants to keep hidden. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
God damn
They've
it.
been lying to you about where the Bible came from. Not small lies, not innocent mistakes. Deliberate, calculated lies about who wrote it, when it was written, where the stories came from, and why you were never supposed to ask questions about any of it. Right now, in seminary classrooms, theology professors are teaching the truth about biblical origins to future pastors and priests. They're explaining who the real authors were. They're showing when each book was actually written. They're documenting where the stories were borrowed from. And then those same students graduate, get ordained, stand behind pulpits, and never mention a single word of it to you. This video is about 7 truths they know about biblical origins. 7 facts about where this book actually came from, that they teach in private, but never preach in public.
Fucking Christ.
7 pieces of evidence so clear, so documented, so impossible to deny, that once you see them, you'll understand exactly why the silence exists. Let me show you. Starting with the one that destroys the entire foundation. Truth number 1, the question of authorship. Who really wrote the Torah?
God damn it.
Moses didn't write the Torah. You learned he did. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the 5 books of Moses. The Law of Moses. Called that because Moses supposedly wrote every word. God spoke, Moses recorded. Divine dictation. That's the origin story you were told. It's a lie, and they know it's a lie, because the evidence is right there in the text itself. Obvious, undeniable, impossible to miss if you actually read it.
Suck my dick, bitch.
Here's the problem. Deuteronomy chapter 34 describes Moses' death.
Now fuck up and overlook this right here.
Where he died, where he was buried, how old he was,
now fuck
how
up
Israel
and
mourned,
overlook so I can dick
how no
you.
prophet like Moses ever arose again in Israel. Read that last part. No prophet like Moses ever arose again in Israel. That's not Moses writing. That's someone centuries later, looking back at Israel's entire prophetic history, comparing all prophets to Moses, including Moses was greatest. Moses couldn't write that. He'd have to know every prophet who came after his death. The text reveals its real author, someone living long after Moses, someone who knew feels it.
Here's what could have happened. Moses wrote down the Torah, but someone took what Moses wrote and wrote that down and wrote the actual book of Deuteronomy, but what he was writing what Moses wrote. And the person who wrote the actual book of Deuteronomy wrote about Moses' death. That's possible. Goddamn dumbasses don't look at every possibility, you son of a bitch. Suck my dick, suck my dick, bitch. Bitch, you suck my dick, bitch. You suck my dick, bitch. Dumbasses. Of course, I don't believe there was a fucking Moses. Myself, I don't believe Moses existed, but you gotta argue all the possibilities. Suck my dick. You suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my motherfucking goddamn dick. Suck my fucking... Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my blessed fucking soul. Oh my fucking blessed goddamn soul. Oh my fucking blessed fucking soul. Oh my blessed fucking soul, I fucked up. God damn it. Oh my fucking blessed fucking goddamn fucking soul. Oh my blessed fucking... Oh my blessed goddamn motherfucking soul. Oh my fucking blessed fucking soul, you fucking piece of shit. Come on, you fucking bitch. Oh my blessed goddamn oh my blessed soul. 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 Oh my blessed soul.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just really unfortunate, and the world misses out on a lot by doing that.
One of the questions, I'm sure, other than the status, Sarah, welcome to the Deconstruction Zone channel. For those who are unfamiliar with Sarah's work, she could be found on the TikToks. And do you have a handle on TikTok that you go by, or should I just display your handle on the screen when we do this interview?
That's fine, yeah. If you can just display it on the screen, it's
Perfect.
Leaving Faith.
Okay, Leaving Faith, very good. Mine is so long, I always just put it on the screen. And it's a great community for those that are deconstructing. I personally found that seems to be where you can have open conversations. I mean, you'll still get attacked by people that are, offended by what you're doing. But...
Yeah, I've been really pleasantly surprised by how quickly
stupid
in the community.
God,
there's a lot of people there.
God, that was dumb.
It's really cool.
Right, there really is. And I have found
stupid
sessions,
the stupid machine.
There are some Christians that are still in the faith that are in the
stupid machine
that do want an honest dialogue with people that have already kind of
the stupid machine. The stupid machine.
I think that's good too. I guess there's a spectrum of people.
Dumbass.
It's not just people bickering and fighting over being mad that you left.
Stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I found the commenters that I get as well are on a spectrum.
The stupid machine.
Have some
my next door neighbor is Mr. Smalls, garden plat.
Right.
That looked like a lawnmower with left wheel up front.
And,
looked like a swastika that would spin around and cut it in the ground.
Process. And one of the first questions
spinning
that I was curious about was, what was your upbringing in terms of religious background?
Not a Jesus cross, but a cross that was equidistant, but whose
deconversion journey
ends were equidistant from the middle.
I was raised by religious parents, but we weren't really in an extreme kind of situation.
You suck my dick, bitch.
We're Presbyterian, the type of church we went to.
God fucking damn it.
They played in the worship
Suck
team,
my dick, bitch.
So that meant that I got to church at like 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, so we stayed until after 12, so church was a big part of my Sunday.
God damn it.
But it was also a big part of my social life, so
God damn it.
Friends were at church,
God damn it.
Then I got involved in youth group and all of those things.
God damn it.
I think,
God
my
damn it.
parents were,
God damn it.
it was important to them, it mattered a lot to them,
God
but I think a lot of the religious instruction that I got was from like Sunday school and youth group.
Right.
Sorry,
God
my dog's
damn it. God,
your dog wants to join. It's okay.
She does.
God fucking damn it.
And I think I ended up in a more fundamentalist place than my parents did.
Damn it.
Yeah, they care about God, they care about,
God,
religion being a part of their lives.
Suck my
But
dick.
for me,
Oh my
it
God.
never made sense to me that the church was full of people whose
my
lives
goddamn
looked
blessings.
exactly like everybody else's.
That pisses me off. That pisses me off. That pisses me
told me
off.
that the only thing that matters is
That's
us
fucking
going to
gay.
heaven, and we gotta get everyone to go to heaven.
Suck my suck.
What are you all doing? Like, what? Why are you worried about this? What are you all doing? Like, what? Why are you worried about this stressful thing?
Stupid!
All of these worldly things. Like, none of that's supposed to matter. Like, you just told me what was the only important thing. And it was always a frustration to me that if you're saying you have a relationship with the God of the universe, your life should look totally different than someone who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think,
suck my
I think I just took it really seriously. Like, I really took it to heart.
You suck my dick. Bitch, you suck my dick.
Kind of a weird kid. I remember.
Bitch, you suck
I went
my
to public
dick,
school for
bitch.
the first few years of elementary school, and I would have Bible studies on the playgrounds, and the little kids
You suck
to
my
me and
dick,
asked me
bitch.
about God, and I'm sure I gave them terribly wrong answers, but
Yeah, is right.
so I hope none of those kids remember anything I said. I don't.
There's some kid out there today holding on to one thing you said.
But be met the pieces.
I'll just make it through the day. I know this one thing.
I'm very sorry to whoever that is.
I think that's common.
Don't even think about it!
Christian, you think that you've discovered some answers, and it takes a while to realize you didn't maybe always discover the answers you thought you did.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. Because I'm a funny blend of I like emotion and connection and relationship, but also, I'm a scientist by trade, and so I like facts and evidence. And so I think my kind of journey into deeper and deeper into religion actually was looking for those facts and evidence confirmation. And so it took me to a deeper, more intense place because I wanted to get it right. If this is what's supposed to only be the important thing in life, I want to get it right. I really want to understand. And that actually ended up taking me to a kind of charismatic Pentecostal place. Because weirdly to me, that felt like evidence. It felt like these people actually do live differently than everyone else. There's this demonstration of the supernatural in their lives. Like, isn't that what it's supposed to be about? And I think that I was really drawn to that.
Yeah, if there's going to be some kind of evidence, it needs to manifest itself in a way that's visible, right? And people would hold on to, say, like speaking in tongues and healings and prophecy, and say, yes, we have evidence, and these are the evidences, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I found that very reassuring for a time because it was some type of confirmation.
Yeah. And I'm curious, now that you bring it up, your journey separating a little bit from your parents' journey in moving more to a fundamentalist viewpoint. Did they find this strange? Did they think that this was normal behavior, or were they okay with it?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Man, I think I fucked up.
I became more intense in college. I went on
I fucked up.
sort of a mission trip to South Africa with this guy named Bruce Wilkinson, who is that's a whole other story we could get into.
I fucked
on
up.
that trip is where I really started to experience charismatic things for the first time. And so I came back from that kind of like wanting to be different. And at first, I think my parents were super on board because it looked like a traditional mission trip.
That,
In that,
back that
I got some money from my
jackass.
church, and so they helped supported me. My parents threw like a little barbecue when I got back, and everyone sat around and listened to my stories, and like, yeah, this is normal. And then I went
Get back,
again,
jackass.
this time to Zambia with just one of my friends, and
Jackass.
so we took another trip to go back, and I think after that, I started to make him a little uncomfortable.
Get back, jackass.
So I got very involved in this small, close-knit group at college my senior year.
I knew he was going to
who were
do that
very,
fucking shit.
we would stay up all night praying, and they would all
Fucking
brought
pisses
Jesus
me off.
into that. And then when I went off to grad school,
Son of a
it was
bitch.
very lonely because I didn't have that connection.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so I
I'm
looked
gonna
more
Donkey
online,
Kong
and
fucking
that's when I kind of started following IHOP, the International House of Prayer. Yeah. And man, is that a wild ride.
Sure is.
But from that, like, I started fasting twice a week, and I set aside like an hour in the evening to pray and read my Bible, and so it just totally took over my life.
Stupid!
My parents were like, this is kind of a lot. And I remember feeling frustrated with them because
Stupid.
the
The stupid machine.
Right.
you wanted this to be the most important thing, and look, it is. And I'm sure they were
Come on, you
thinking,
slut.
yeah, but fasting and really, like, this is too extreme.
But according to the New Testament, that is the goal. The goal is to become so dead to yourself that it's only Jesus left over. And so the whole dying to self, a lot of people don't take seriously, but I feel like that's one of the reasons why when people do deconstruct, and if they do leave the faith, they become sort of militant or resentful against the faith because they gave so much to it. And I think that's what a lot of Christians don't understand, that they look at ex-Christians.
Damn, I could have fucked his
you
ass.
were never saved in the first place, or you were never saved.
Damn!
When in fact, the atheists that you're meeting were the most serious Christians you've ever met. They spent many, many days fasting and praying and holding Bible studies and going to Bible college and completing higher education and trying to lead others. And so when we speak,
Stupid!
It's not because we were insincere. It's because we've been duped.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we want to,
Suck
for lack of a
my
better word,
fucking
save
dick,
people
bitch.
from having to go through that pain that you went through.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, definitely, people on my TikTok have said that, like, oh, you were never saved. You weren't a real Christian. If you really knew God, like, you would never leave.
Right. You went to the wrong church.
Yes.
You read the wrong book of the Bible.
That is. Like, I promise, I was so dedicated, and it was my whole life. And yeah, and now I just, I think the thing that bothers me the most about the way that my faith worked was that it taught you to hate yourself.
Right.
Like, deep down, you are bad and wrong and evil, and all your desires and intuitions are all sinful, and you have to get rid of all of those. And I think that's so painful and damaging. And I think that's why I started to speak out against it. It's not that I want people to have to. I don't want to
Now fuck up and bring this cone down
believe what you
here.
want to believe, but I don't want you to have to hate yourself because of what you believe.
Right. And
These rooks are doing
absolutely
absolutely not
before I
shit.
left
Shit.
the seminary, I was living in Indiana, and a good friend of mine who also at one point became my boss asked me, and he's like, do you know why you're a Christian? And I explained to him, and then when I was completely done, he goes, that's all. I just wanted to make sure you knew why. He goes, because if you're going off to seminary and you're not fully aware of what you're getting into, you might have a hard time. But I got the slight impression that maybe he might have grew up in the faith, but is no longer. and just wanted to make sure I knew what I was getting myself into.
But again, he was a little bit like you. He wasn't trying to push me out of the faith. He wasn't trying to convince me to not believe. And ultimately, that might be a foolhardy position to hold anyways, trying to convince people that they shouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, they're not ready to hear that.
Bum!
Yeah, absolutely. I was deconstructing. I found this video on YouTube. There wasn't a lot at the time. TikTok had not been invented.
Right.
But I found this explanation for belief that really made a lot of sense to me. And I did a short video on it, but picturing belief as like a stool with a bunch of legs on it. And these are different things that hold up your belief. And so, your belief in anything, part of that is facts and logic and information. Part of it is your life experience. Part of it is your community and reinforcement. Part of it is your psychology and emotions. And so, changing a belief requires you to kind of kick the legs out of each of those. And so, on either side, Christians trying to convince atheists or atheists trying to convince Christians, just facts are never going to do it. It's not going to change someone's belief because it's held up by all these other things.
Right. And
so we're going to talk a little bit about those legs
here in a moment. I had a question before we get there, though.
Jesus fucking
During your experience, did you ever have, we'll say, a born-again moment where you felt like you did something special and something changed, or was it more of a progressive move from position A to position B?
I grew up in the church and just kind of always thought that I was a Christian. I had times in junior high and high school where it was less important to me. But I will say that after going to South Africa, when I came back, it's definitely very different. I was recommitted in a really tangible way. So I would say that experience was a big turning point for me.
Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch.
And then one of the other questions, because again, I think this comes up in a lot of people's journeys, is whether or not there was any type of, we'll say, a fear of hell that played into your faith journey. Because I know for a lot of people, they might have gone to the heaven gates, hell's flames.
I saw it.
And that, especially if you're a young person, that's kind of traumatizing. And you think, oh, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to burn forever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did that play a role in your journey at all?
So I saw that play. I was 9 years old.
That's a smelly shit.
So young.
Spit.
And what's really funny is I saw it with my mom, and my mom did not like
That's
it.
A smelly
And the reason she didn't like it is the most traumatizing scene is when the family dies.
Don't even think about it.
The little girl is going and her family's being ripped.
That's a smelly show.
And Jesus is standing on the steps and he's crying, reaching out to the family that he can't save.
Mm-hmm.
My mom didn't like that because she thought that made it look like Jesus wasn't very powerful.
I'd say so.
Which a fair criticism.
She's right. Oh no.
The one with the trauma, being ripped apart. She's like, that doesn't seem right. I think Jesus is more powerful than that.
Right.
Fair enough, Mom.
You know what? That's a great observation.
Get that
she had,
goddamn
my
bitch
mom
out of you,
has
son
similar
of a bitch.
observations. She's kind of a
I'll stick my dick in that
She
bitch
grew up
butt.
Catholic.
And
oh,
she'll say that she's
digger!
She's still Catholic-like, but she does the same thing. She'll see some things, and I think she's able to rationalize it in her head. Well, if God is real, or if Jesus exists, then logically, by extension, X, Y, and Z must be true, regardless of what the Bible says.
God damn it.
I think that just goes to the point that a lot of times humans are able to rationalize certain things, and
they assume that makes the most sense, and then they have to have the Bible to tell them that no, don't trust your brain, don't trust the thing that is common sense, only trust this one thing.
Oh, digger!
But yeah, so Heaven Gates Hell Explained, that was something. That was where I had my, we're going to call it Born Again experience. Was at that play. Me and my best friend Kyle, his mom was the one that brought both of us.
No.
So.
Yeah, I didn't. That was definitely scary. I saw a lot of. I went to a Christian school from 3rd to 5th grade, which is also where I learned some more. I don't know.
Oh, nigger!
The rapture was a big thing.
Yeah.
And we watched. Oh my gosh, these movies. It was called A Thief in the Night, and this is like a 1970s. Rapture movie that it's like left behind, and it was so traumatizing. Like, I don't know why you would show this to kids. It's made with adults, and the rapture happens, and then these people are left behind, and they have to not get like 666 tattooed on their hands, and people who refuse to do it die by guillotine. And
oh no!
They showed that in 4th grade, and they showed yep, you're gonna die by guillotine. If you refuse on your hand. Like, why would you show that to 4th graders, particularly?
Don't even think about it.
This is true. Like, this is going to happen.
Right.
So you have to be saved because you do not want to get left behind, or you are gonna get your head chopped off via guillotine.
And you know what? My dad was a late convert to Christianity. He converted in his mid-40s.
Okay.
And he fell into independent fundamentalist Southern Baptists, where they would show those types of movies to kids. And I remember it became a problem for my parents because my mom didn't convert. But my dad was like, we have to save the kids. We have to make sure they don't go to hell and the whole thing. And at this point, I can only imagine what my poor mother was thinking. Wait, what are you talking about?
Oh no!
I got one word of advice for you.
And my dad, as people in the '90s, many had discussed, Barcodes are the new Mark of the Beast, and then microchips. Anyways, we could talk on that tangent for quite a while. I want to talk a little bit about
I'm fixing to give myself another whore.
When do you get the first cracks in your wall? When do you start to see maybe some gaps in the theological viewpoints, or maybe even in some of the Bible stories that made you think, that's weird, I don't know about that?
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I actually looked back through a lot of my. I used to keep a prayer journal, and so I read back through that, and definitely is an example of those different legs. I had some prayers where I was asking God, this doesn't make any sense, God. I read this. This doesn't seem like you. This doesn't seem like your character.
I'm fixing to get myself another whore.
And then I would finish the prayer with, I know you're good, and I know you have a plan, and I just don't understand, so help me understand.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I definitely read some stories that didn't make sense to me. The misogyny didn't make sense to me. I'm a professor, so my job is to stand in front of people and teach. And I love that. Actually, a lot of people are afraid of public speaking, but teaching people and speaking in front of an audience is something that I love to do. And when I was really into I love to study, and so the idea of leading a church really made sense to me. It felt like I was designed to do that, and it was infuriating that I wasn't allowed to. Being a woman, I'm not allowed